If the way gets between me and a taco, the way's going out the window. I'm Captain VinzerFlinn, and you're listening to Shitfaced in Hyperspace.
Alright, go.
Am I doing notes tonight? I have notes.
I only took 1 page of notes for Chapter 7. It's not necessarily chronological.
All right, well, I actually did for a change. So let's see. Where do we start here? Yeah, okay, so the Mando's flying around, and the kid's asleep, and he gets a message from Grief, who puts forth the plan to ally back up and get rid of the Imperial guest of Navarro to clear his name with the guild. Everyone gets what they want. It just means putting the kid at risk as bait.
Right. Grief said he wanted to kill the client who has imposed despotic rule. It's like, oh, very, very nice language you got there.
Despotic. That's a very good descriptor.
So that starts with the whole, woo, are we going to get a team up episode finally?
This is the you son of a bitch, I'm in.
Yeah. It's funny because I mentioned that too at work. It's like, we just talked about this week and we're like, son of a bitch, I'm in.
Yep, we finally got it. So the first one he goes back to, what was it called, Sorgan or whatever, to get Cara Dune, who's in some kind of a death match with a Zabrak. And I like to look at this Zabrak. Like, Zabraks translate very good to real life. So she mentions that if anyone runs her chain code, she'll go to prison. And so it seems like everyone's got a chain code. I mean, it makes it sound like the New Republic is as every bit as red tape as the Empire was. Like, everyone's kept track of as best they can. You know what I mean?
Well, the chain codes probably came in before the New Republic, because Kara predates the New Republic, as does the child.
Yeah, I guess this is the first time we're kind of hearing that term, I guess.
Yeah, but it's like you said, if they run my chain code, I'm going to prison. It's like, well, the New Republic's still using them at the very least.
Yeah. So at first, she doesn't want to come with Mando until he says the target's an Imperial, and that's when we get, you son of a bitch, I'm in.
Yeah. That is literally it, yeah. Just exactly, you son of a bitch.
She might as well have. Yeah, she did say I'm in, though. So they're back up on the ship, and he gives Dune the pick of the armory. So while they're talking, Baby Yoda does an upside-down peek down to see that they're occupied and has a go at flying the ship.
I thought he was sort of throwing a tantrum because it's like, oh, you're going to ignore me, are you?
That makes sense. And you know what? I watch it with the subtitles to get all the info I can, and it actually said the child giggling while the ship's careening out of control.
Yeah. So he's either throwing a tantrum or he was just, a child playing around. Go, hey, this is fun. Hey.
Little asshole. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah, no doubt.
So they need help with... They basically need a babysitter, so they go back to the desert world to get Queel. And he says to the Mando, it doesn't look like it's grown much, and he says it might be strand cast, whatever that is. I don't know if that's some kind of cloning thing or whatever. That's the first time I've heard that word.
Was it the Mando who said he thought it might be strand cast? Because
yes, yeah.
Queel said he didn't think so. The baby was a clone because he's got experience in that field.
Yeah, that was kind of cool. It's like the cloning thing seems a little more common, or genetic engineering was more common than we might have first thought.
Well, don't forget, Queel in an earlier episode also mentioned he served 3 of a regular person's lifetimes serving the Empire, right? So
right.
Goes back. But yeah, at the very least, they were doing some sort of cloning. Yeah, I just remembered that we got reintroduced to IG-11 at that moment too. And
I hate to admit it, but Juice's theory was right on the money. Sure enough, IG-11 salvaged and reprogrammed.
Yeah. I love that IG-11's in. I hate that Juice was right.
He's not here, thank God.
But it was good to see him back because he was a cool character.
Yeah, I like that they did a little flashback on Queel getting him back up to snuff, and he had to reprogram pretty much from the start. And I just love that Taika Waititi is his voice. Would you like some tea?
And the fact that you can't change their program. I have programmed him to be a nurse to the child. Blurgs will join us as well. And the man is like, the Blurgs? He's like, I have spoken.
Yeah, we get another kind of it reminded me of the cows on the Serenity episode.
Yeah.
So during their travels, Mando and Cara are having a little friendly arm wrestling, and the most interesting thing happens.
Yeah, little fucker.
That's a dark side power, force choking.
Yeah, he force chokes the hell that it starts to. And poor Cara. He's very protective of the Mandalorian.
He totally is. She's like, that's not okay.
Yeah, takes it in pretty good stride. That's not okay.
And Queel says things are starting to make sense. So they don't actually say Jedi yet, but he kind of knows what's going on, right? And what is interesting about this is how fast, and this happens in the real world too, how fast people forget things. Like the Empire wiped out all knowledge of the Jedi, and it's like no one really remembers them.
Yeah, because that's a callback to A New Hope when they're saying ancient order, mysterious wizards. It's like, but it's not that long ago that they were fighting in wars. Like, what, 20 years?
Yeah, it's only been 20, 30 years tops.
So yeah, I think somebody mentioned it during, was it Force Awakens or The Last Jedi? During The Last Jedi, how the Jedi books were actually written knowledge, and how you don't see a lot of written knowledge, and that maybe knowledge isn't passed down the way it is with us, where it's written down. It's only ever kept in like holocubes or holocrons, not written, and definitely not disseminated by newspapers, because nobody knows this shit. How do you forget so easily?
Yeah, very true. And the Empire got its mitts on the Jedi archive, so that would have been, at best, quarantined somewhere, at worst destroyed. So they head back to Navarro under Imperial control. Cara says a lot of rebels died there, so that was a battleground at some point. And they get there, and despite the seeming answer to all his problems lying in this plan and the alliance with Greef, I still think it's the stupidest ass decision to go along with this plan.
Yeah, it's pretty. Yeah, I guess he had no choice. Like, they're just going to keep coming if I don't do something. So we got to back up. And yeah, when you mentioned Cara, she also mentioned that Navarro was very hard to take. It was a dug-in city.
Yeah.
Approaching it, right?
Hello, Merida.
Hello.
She also, they mentioned leaving the child with the IG-11. He said, I don't want that thing left alone. And I said, you really don't like droids, do you? He says, no, I have a thing against that droid.
So next up is the cozy camp out. Everyone's eating except the Mando, and I wonder if he's smelling the food and going, holy fuck, I am starving, but this is the way. And all I could think of is...
Yeah, they arrived on planet. Greef had 3 guildies. He had Queel. I guess Greef wasn't aware of IG-11 at that time, because I don't think he came off the ship. Only the 3 of them on the Blurgs came off.
That's true, yeah, he didn't see him.
He also mentioned they're outside the city by about a day's travel. Maybe walk. It explains why they wouldn't be noticed right away, at least.
And it story-wise, it sets up, which otherwise I think was completely out of left field, the dragon things attack, and we get to see Cara Dune using her awesome blaster that was from the posters, and Greef gets hurt.
Yeah, 2 Blurgs die, 1 of the guildies gets carried away, and Greef got injured pretty badly on the arm.
So Baby Yoda toddles over with his hand out. And Greef, he's trying to eat me.
That's funny, yeah.
We see, he used a little dark side earlier, but we see some light side healing, but on a pretty awesome scale we've never seen before. Like, he heals that shit right up.
I don't think I know it's only been an expanded universe, so the Legends stuff, that Force healing was ever done. And in the video games, it's never been in any of the mainstream movies before. So it's not technically canon until this episode of The Mandalorian.
Yep, so Greef gets healed, and because of that, he comes clean about the plan. But now he's like, I can't go through with it, so we're going to figure out something else.
Yeah, he spins, draws his blasters, and takes out his 2 guild allies, saving Cara and Mando.
Surprising? Oh, I don't know. No one, really.
I got to hand it to Greef, though. He's a pretty good shot in general.
Yeah, shoot between the two people and get the two targets. Better shot than a stormtrooper.
Oh God, yeah. So they send Queel, give him a comm link. Queel gives Mando a comm link, once again proving this guy's helmet needs some upgrades, and Queel goes back to the ship with the baby. And back in town, we meet the very bored scout biker troopers.
Stand the gate. Yeah, they hatch a plan to fake the Mando's capture and walk him into town. The scouts at the gate say, 20 credits for the helmet. No, that Grief says, no, that's going on my wall.
That 20 credits, that's insulting.
Yeah, Beskar's pretty expensive, isn't it?
These ignorant boors. So we're back into the cantina where we meet the client again. I've read that Werner Herzog would talk to Baby Yoda when they're not filming and that he just adored it.
Yeah, I heard the same thing, or read the same thing somewhere.
And there was a great meme of him, everyone at the start of every episode, I would like to see the baby.
So yeah, everybody, even the cast, was enthralled by the child. He makes a very good case for imperial rule. Well, he spouts a bunch of nonsense that makes it sound like he has a good case for imperial rule.
That's how political leaders get everybody. I mean, I'm not pointing to any countries where the poorer people were told that they would do way better under their government, but
I feel like this client might have once worked in propaganda or something. But yes, he asks, Carmine says, he kind of goes off on a little pro-imperial rant, and he asks why Mandalore resists the imperial expansion and is the world more peaceful since the revolution. So next, the client gets a holocall, and we get our first look at Moff Gideon, played by Giancarlo Esposito. And if you've seen Breaking Bad, you know what a fucking terrifying villain this guy can be. And he launches an attack and kills a bunch of his own troopers just to make a point.
Yeah, he kills the client and 6 troopers. By having the Death Troopers, we could see the Death Troopers. That's their first. That's only the second time we've seen them. I think Rogue One's the only other time I remember seeing them.
Yeah, and what an oh fuck moment that was too when you looked out the window and saw that black armor.
Yeah, it's like, oh, these guys know how to shoot.
And the other cool thing that pulls up, it was in the Rebels cartoon, but previously had only been a toy from the 70s. We see a live-action version of the Imperial transport, and the stormtroopers all jump out of it.
Okay, so that did have a callback. Neat. So when they're getting shot at, the Mando's trying to get a hold of Queel to make sure the baby's safe. And at the end of the episode, we noticed that earlier when he was walking and talking to Queel, the scout troopers picked it up, and we saw them speed off on regular speeder bikes, not the swoop bikes, towards their position. They triangulated pretty damn quickly, too, I might add.
Oh, what a case for having encrypted comms.
Thanks, Bria.
Also, what a case for, having speeder bikes versus blurgs, because they made it to almost back to the ship. It was a day's travel to the city, and they made it there in minutes.
Oh yeah, no time at all. I love those classic speeder bikes.
Also, pretty flat terrain, like Cara Dune had mentioned. No cover whatsoever.
Yeah.
And then we see the unfortunate at the end of the episode, Mando calling desperately to check on the child, and Queel not responding as he's laying steaming on the ground, and the speeder bikes turn around and head back to the city.
Such a heartbreaker. Everyone loves Queel. We were hoping that, maybe he's not dead. Maybe he's not dead. Maybe
he wasn't dead. Maybe he's just laying on the ground and it's the blurg that got shot and he's just knocked unconscious. Holding out hope here.
So at that point, Gideon arrives in person with a TIE fighter and completely blows our minds by doing something we all should have thought of years ago. The wings fold and it lands.
No kidding, yeah.
In our house, we were all like, wait, would they do that?
I have a feeling that it might be a prototype, like Vader's Advanced or something. But all the TIEs we've ever seen are in racks, and once in a while you might see one that landed with its wings. But that's the first time we've ever seen that, and it makes so much sense.
Well, if they kept them on the ground like that, nobody would be able to blow up a factory and knock them all out of the racks.
That D&D episode was, fiery.
Did they mention in the episode that he had a modified TIE fighter? Or
No, that's totally fan theory on my part.
he's got an Outland TIE fighter if you go to Wikipedia.
Oh, cool.
Pilot line starfighters. Yeah, so apparently the Outland TIE fighter is the one where the wings fold so to land.
I loved it. It was a really cool idea.
Oh yeah, it was great. It's just, did they make that up just for this episode? But it has a Wikipedia page, so.
I think this is once again Favreau turning everything we know on its head in awesome ways.
Well, it makes sense, right? Like, how useful are they if you can't take them to land them someplace that's not like a port, right?
Apparently, it first appeared in a mobile app, Star Wars Card Trader, as part of the set Illustrated Outlaws. So, and that was only released in October of 2019. So,
Okay, yeah. So
it may have been put in the game, and they'd already filmed that scene in The Mandalorian.
Okay, cool. Yeah, the art department's earning their paycheck. So Gideon's here in person, and we know more about him now in the episode after this, but he clearly knows everything. Like, he knows a lot about Baby Yoda, and I theorize, which has been backed up a little bit more now, that he's probably got access to all this old data, including knowledge of the Jedi, and I think he knows all about who Jedi Master Yoda was. He's old enough to have lived and served in that time. So yeah, like, his motivations for wanting Yoda, he knows the deal. So this episode ends with, in my opinion, the biggest fucking cliffhanger. You know, where like the heroes are pinned down, the baby's been captured, one of their own has been killed. Like, I was on the edge of my seat now. The show ended, and I was like, "Fuck!"
Yeah, and it's the first time this particular show has done that to us. They've always tied up things at the end. It's been very episodic, right?
And they knew it was going to be for the longest wait that they've given us too between episodes. Mean.
Yeah.
Man, Saturday I was looking, is there a new episode? It's like, right, it only came in, it hasn't even been 3 days.
And as I said before, everything old is new again.
So much so. And good timing, Juice, because we just finished about chapter 7, so we're about to start on the finale. It's chapter 8, Redemption, and the title alone got me fired up.
Yeah, I was wondering what that was alluding to when the episode started, but by the end we figure it all out.
So we start off with these two stormtroopers racing back to town. The kid's stuffed in a sack, and they stop.
The most hated stormtroopers in the universe.
Oh, they are now, man. I was ready to call the police. And they engage in what I felt was a very Quentin Tarantino-style conversation, and where these motherfuckers beat the child repeatedly.
Okay, apart from the hitting the kid on the head, which I, of course, didn't like, apart from everyone else, I thought the banner was fucking amazing.
It was.
The banner was cool.
Screw the banter. The shooting at the target part.
That was gold.
Yeah, that was pretty. That was a little gold. I personally loathed seeing it as someone who impersonates a stormtrooper often, but it was funny.
Yeah, just further cements the fact that stormtroopers are bad shots.
Scout troopers. Those two were fucking scout troopers.
They're all the
difference.
Same. They're all the same.
Juice, in the D&D campaign, you're wearing scout trooper armor.
Yeah.
Exactly. And last time I blew someone's fucking head off. So
This is true. Juice has had a series of good successes lately.
Remember that time you tried to shoot out the window and couldn't?
Wow.
Merida bringing you back down.
Yep.
So anyway, they beat the child, chat.
Yeah, and they're waiting because they're told that Moff Gideon's landed and has already killed a patrol of his own troopers, and then repeatedly ask for any update, and they get 1 second. He just killed an officer for interrupting him, so it might be a while. He's got Darth Vader's mode of command, I think.
Yeah, same classic management style. But then, whose legs do we see enter the shot but Nanny Bot? And he's like, "You've abused my child, I'm going to have to fuck you up."
And proceeds to do so.
Oh, man, he fucks him up so good.
I knew it. I fucking knew it.
Yeah, before you joined Juice, we had to give you credit. We said we hate to admit it, but Juice. What?
It's going to go to his head. Don't tell him.
We have to. He's going to hear it anyway. You were right about your theory about IG. He was reprogrammed and on the farm.
And then he went all friggin' commando.
But, well, we just did. We said he destroys them. It's a callback to, the fight in episode 7 between Queel and Mando. Well, the argument that, you can't change his programming. He's a hunter droid, and we see him, and he's like, yeah, no, he's clearly still the hunter's in there.
Yes, because, as good as the Scout Trooper beatdown is, it gets better. But we flash back to Gideon in the standoff, and anyone who's seen Breaking Bad again is shitting their pants already. And they start setting up an E-Web heavy repeater. Once again, actually using the names of things, which you don't really get in the movies.
Yeah, E-Web heavy repeater, heavy repeating blaster. And then he refers to it as an E-Web cannon later. It's a shorter, easier term.
And then they explain all the places you may have seen it. It was just one big ad for them. It's like the E-Web repeater, heavy repeater, which you may have known from this, or from this, or when it killed all of these people. Ta-da!
Yeah, well, we used the prototype on this planet to fuck you up.
And he's revealed in this scene that Gideon knows a lot, and he was once an ISB agent and thought to have been executed for war crimes, and then he name drops fucking everybody. First, Cara Cynthia of Alderaan, which was super interesting.
Explains why she hates the Imperials so much.
I really like that she was from Alderaan. Alderaan has this reputation for being diplomats and stuff, but nope, here's a kick-ass shock trooper that's just into kick imp ass.
Well, when the Empire destroys your entire planet, you kind of get that attitude.
You may take that a little personally. We get finally the big reveal, Din Djarin, the Mandalorian. But even cooler than that to me in this scene is it's clarified for the cheap seats that the Mandalorians are not a race, but a culture and way of life, a creed.
Yeah, it's a creed.
Yeah, I kind of like that a lot. It was a nice vindication.
Yep.
The Moff actually mentions the Night of 1,000 Tears in there as well, which is the purging of Mandalore.
Yes. And as I was explaining to someone the other night, years ago when I wrote the history of the Flynn clan, Vinzer's father on Mandalore saw the shit that was coming down and relocated his clan to Corellia. So canonically, we avoided that night.
Then we get a flashback after they mentioned Mandalorian isn't a race. It's a creed.
Yeah, we finally get it in its totality, and we see that Din, I'm not calling him Din now, he's not just the Mando to me now. Now he's a person. He's rescued by Mandalorians, specifically the Death Watch. This has always kind of been an annoying thing to me that you're either Death Watch or you're a pacifist Mandalorian. I know there's a lot of stuff that's not canon anymore, but it's like, I want to see more stories about guys that retain being badass Mandos like the Flynns that aren't Death Watch. It's still very black and white that way, but they look awesome. And we got kind of another scene what it looks like when the Mandalorians come to town.
Yeah, they kick some ass.
Boy, did they ever.
And interesting note, they got their bluish armor on here, which means they're pre-Maul as well. Yeah,
they were very color coordinated, which I dug.
So were these Mandos that fought for the Republic, like the Abe Lincoln Brigade during the Spanish Civil War type of thing? Or I was trying to figure out exactly when that particular attack would have happened.
So in the Clone Wars, when, was it, the name, Bo-Katan or something like that?
Oh, Bo-Katan? Yeah.
Yeah, I had it mixed up. Bo-Katan and Satine, when they were making the pacifist Mandos, the Death Watch broke off or splintered off, led by Pre Vizsla. And then eventually they got betrayed by the Imperials and then fell in with Maul at some point in time. So maybe in between the time of them falling out with the Imperials and the Separatists and falling in with Maul, they just went on a rampage and just like, anywhere the fucking Separatists are, we're going in and fucking shit up.
Which is interesting too, because the thing at the end, not to jump ahead, and the Death Watch.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, we'll get to that.
So the Death Watch guy, and I really dug the way these guys look. He reaches out his hand, he rescues Din, and jetpacks away. And then we flash back to IG-11 in Adventures in Babysitting, swoop biking in ludicrous speed into town.
Murdering everything in the way, and with the child laughing all the time.
I know, this kid is a psychopath, I'm telling you.
Your job is to keep the baby safe.
Yeah,
You're making some questionable choices.
He spun his body around to shield it.
Yeah, the kid never got harmed while he was in IG's care.
He probably should have taken him back to the ship, realistically. Not drive into the middle of the Imperial stronghold, guns blazing.
Exactly. I'm like, you're not getting away, you're going towards the danger.
That's droid logic right there. So, well, this is the threat. I'm going to go blow them all up.
Yeah, his programming's fucked up. That's what it is.
It's that Hunter programming still.
Yeah, the best defense is a strong offense. Therefore, if I kill them all, he's protected.
Problem solved. So he gets to the where they're having the standoff, and he ditches the swoop bike, kills some people with that, and then it's a free-for-all. Everyone comes out shooting.
You get to see the Mando pick up the E-Web cannon and use it like holding it at the hip, just blasting away.
That was awesome.
In a sort of homage to Episode 1.
Yeah, I expected the sort of same kind of playing around with the gun, but then the way he picked it up was like, oh, that's almost Terminator-esque, really.
And then the Moth actually does something smart, which makes me like this. It's making me starting to like this character as a foil to the Mando, because he actually shoots the power pack for the E-Web to stop it, rather than try and shoot the Mando himself. It took me a second to figure out, but damn, that's actually a smart thing to do.
Yeah, he did shoot the Mando first in the back of the head, and it just went ding off the Beskar. Then he got smart.
The way he walked out into the fight too, like he wasn't dodging blasts, he just walked out like he did not give a fuck. Again, it was felt like Gus Fring again. He's like, I'm not getting killed.
Yeah, he was very imposing when he walked like that.
It's interesting the troopers were like being blown to shit, like their armor doesn't matter against anything. And you gotta wonder how much Beskar they got, like the Imperials got, when they seized everything. Because you kind of like, they don't really care about their men, like at all. They're just letting them go out in crappy armor when they had the potential to make good armor.
Yeah, so there's two potential things there. If they did make good armor, they probably would have outfitted on the officers only. And two, actually earlier in the episode, when the Mando comes in with the new piece of Beskar, the client actually says something to the effect of, it's truly magnificent to see what the Beskar can look like in the hands of an artisan who knows what to do with it.
Yeah, but I kind of took that as his is particularly pretty, not utilitarian, you know?
The Empire, considering it was massive, always had the attitude of quantity over quality. I mean, look at the TIE fighters. They made hundreds of thousands of those things, but they're shitty fighters. But just due to numbers, they got the job done. Probably the same with the Stormtrooper Corps. You probably just recruited millions and millions of people and just threw them in there because they knew they'd always have a steady supply.
Theoretically, the TIE fighters are really good fighters. Stormtroopers are crappy shots.
The TIE fighters were excellent snub fighters, but famously, no shields, no hyperdrive.
Exactly. They made them cheap, and then they manufactured them by the hundreds of thousands.
Well, I mean, Clone Wars too, right? They made people.
So they retreat back into the cantina. Din is badly injured. His armor is actually scarred up now, and his helmet's practically black from the explosion. Cara tries to get his helmet off, and he just completely refuses. And again, I have such an issue with this helmet thing. It's so dogmatically religious, and he wants the warrior's death, and it's the way. But there's also a saying amongst Mandos, which I guess isn't canon anymore. It's all helmet, no head.
Yeah, he goes for as far as to say, I'm not going to make it. And we see the blood on Kara's hand as it comes off the back of his head.
So what happens next? Oh, the fire trooper moves in, and Baby Yoda deals with him.
We see an honest to God fire trooper.
And that was an impressive weapon he had, but Baby Yoda, magic hand.
Yeah, stops the flames. Backfires it.
This is where Matt, because since Cryos isn't here to actually say anything about it, he had Kanan flashbacks and was very sad.
Aww. So IG-11 manages to get them their sewer exit, and they all escape, but IG stays with him. And Din Djarin says, "No living thing has seen me without my helmet," and however long. And we get a little loophole here, because IG is no living thing. So finally, the helmet comes off, and we see him.
But not after first. When he goes to lift the helmet, he says, "You do, and I'll destroy you, or I'll shoot you," or something.
Yeah,
like that.
yeah, he pulled the gun, yeah.
So I had to wonder if IG was having a flashback moment. Like, how much of the program's there is like, "You already shot me in the head once. Nope, I'm going to let go now."
True that.
But then at least his processor went, "I am not a living thing."
Nope, nice loophole. I like that.
And when they took the helmet off, I was watching it with Phoenix, and I went, "Oh, it's just Pedro Pascal." What was I expecting?
I mean, shit, were you expecting the helmet to come off and there was like Arnold Schwarzenegger or something?
That'd be funny. But as expected, the helmet came off, and what did he look like underneath? Sweaty and greasy. This is the way.
Like every one of us when we take our helmet off after a parade.
Yeah, we know that the way sucks.
Yeah, and then IG sprays him with the back to spray to help him heal. And he says, "You damaged your central processing unit." And Din goes, "You mean my brain?" It's like, yes, I was making a joke to ease the situation.
You can tell Taika directed this episode, too.
I think at this point, we're all probably agreeing. It's like, IG is starting to steal this episode a little bit.
So they get down into the former Mandalorian covert, which is not only deserted, but the Mandos have been wiped out and their armor's in a pile.
Yeah, somebody obviously took time to stack that there, too, because it's not just bodies, it's pieces of armor.
I think the armorer did.
Oh, for sure.
Well, yeah, but we haven't mentioned she was still alive yet.
I noticed on a second watching, in the pile of helmets, I definitely saw an actual Night Owl helmet.
Oh, cool.
There is one, because this is an aside, but Hot Topic has Mandalorian merch, and they have a helmet t-shirt, and they have a Night Owl on it from the episode, so that's why.
Ah.
Yeah, the armor actually, like you said, she probably stacked them. She pops out at this point and explains that the Imperials came. They knew once they left the covert way that the Imperials would come in force and wiped out most of them. She's hoping that some may have escaped. She's not sure if they did or not. Which gives us hope that the heavy Mando made it out. I'd like to
Yeah. Well, he was flying at the end of the episode where we saw him in episode 3, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and he offers to take her with them and come with us. And she won't leave until everything has been reclaimed.
Right. She's salvaging all the stuff. And she asks to see the baby, what all the fuss was about. And she's the first person to really mention the Jedi by name. She seems to know about them.
Yeah, she referred to it as heard of, because he mentions that it was the one that helped him defeat the Mudhorn. She's like, "I've heard of sorcerers before. The Mandalorians once fought them." Did she say Jedi at that point?
She actually uses the word Jedi. Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so then that goes back to what we were discussing earlier about how poor people's memories are, yet she remembers who the fuck the Jedi are.
Yeah, she referred to them as a race of wizards called Jedi.
And Din seems very ignorant about them, which, again, the Empire did a great job at wiping out these guys' existence.
Well, I mean, and it's not just that they wiped out their existence in that they killed so many, but then the ones that were left couldn't let on, and then the ones that survived, who were born with the Force, think they're just magic.
Yeah. So then Din says, when she asked, the armor asked about the baby, he said, "Is it an enemy?" And the armor replied with no. Its kind was, but it is not. And then Din, of course, says, well, what is it? And she says, it is a foundling.
That was a cool little reference to the history of combat in the Old Republic between Mandalorians and Jedi. And Mandalorians would often side with the Sith Empire to fight Jedi because they seemed like a challenge.
Yeah, and it also ties in with the end of the episode again for reasons we'll discuss at the end of the episode.
And it's she says the baby's a foundling and now in Din's care and must be either he comes of age and swears to the creed or must be reunited with his own kind. And I have a feeling like that's a bit of a season 2 hook right there, the search for Yoda's race.
And the line everybody's been waiting for. Until then, you are as its father.
Exactly. They are a clan of 2 now.
Right, and we see him get his signet, which is the Mudhorn.
Was anyone else waiting to see a little baby Yoda head?
I thought it was I thought that thing that she gave him was like the Yoda ear.
No, it's the Mudhorn. If you pause it when you're watching, you can definitely make out it's a creature.
So she tells him to restock his munitions, and she gives him a jetpack, asking, and we're never going to hear the end of this from him, are you trained in the art of the Rising Phoenix?
It's canon now.
He's already going on about it.
So they go on their way. Initial scout party gets taken out by IG-11, but more stormtroopers come and find the armorer in a quiet repose, and then she just completely fucks these guys up with a hammer and tongs.
Yeah, that was badass. And she survives at the end, and that's the last we see of her, which means there's a damn good chance that she will show up in season 2.
Oh, we'd better see her again.
After she kicked everyone's ass, put one guy into the foundry, smashed another guy's helmet clear in 2, got one guy down the ground and hammered him.
Yeah, the guy going into the foundry and literally melting, that kind of freaked me out a bit.
So she wins the fight, and afterwards, I was watching this with Phoenix and Reyna just went, Merida?
I like destruction. I can't help it. They all got to keep their heads, sorta. So that's not me.
Well, one guy's is mulched.
One guy's is melted. So their escape plan consisted of jumping in a boat and sailing down a lava river.
Okay, you know what? This is the part right here. I think I've suffered some kind of PTSD or something from this. Everything I know about Star Wars gets turned on its fucking head. Because the goddamn R2 unit stood up.
Yeah, that was weird.
Yes, that was kind of freaky.
Like, I'm not over it. I'm still not over it. I can't get my head around it. Everything I know is wrong.
Why? Why do they make Kara carry the baby?
I know, right?
I'm like, she is easily the strongest and most kick-ass of all of you, and you can't move this friggin' boat. But no, let her hold the baby. Not Carl Weathers, no, whatever grief, no, not him. No. Let the woman hold the baby.
IG-11 already threatened grief earlier in the episode.
Kara was on IG's friend list, I guess.
Yeah, and IG's carrying the Rising Phoenix backpack.
How convenient.
So yeah, there may be a little reason there. Or it was just so that it could show the 2 guys trying to push it off. And she says, "Stand back."
Juice, if I were you, I'd be worried Crank's going to grow arms and legs and beat your ass.
Oh, dear God. No, he's already heavily fucking armed enough. I don't need to actually hand limbs to carry more weapon.
Oh, God, I'm still not over it. But they realize there's an ambush up ahead, and they want that R2 unit to stop, and it doesn't, so Kara blows its fucking head off.
And that's the end of the armed-legged R2 unit. Are you happy now?
Well, he might have been the only one in the galaxy, but we'll never know. There could be more of these things out there.
I have a feeling there's probably just a modified R2 unit to pilot that boat.
It looked really haphazardly slapped together.
I'm still afraid. You think R2 does that when no one's around?
All those scenes where we never see in the movies, like, how did he get up the stairs? That's how he got up the stairs.
It's like Toy Story. We never see them do anything while you're looking at them, but when they go away, they come alive.
I always thought 3PO was the abusive one in that relationship, but maybe R2 beat him. It's like, don't make me get my arms out.
So yeah, they're approaching the end of the tunnel. They've destroyed the droid that's piloting it. They're still drifting though, and Din picks up on his infrared or one of his modes of vision that there's a bunch of troopers, pretty much a platoon, I believe, at the end of the tunnel. IG-11 says that, they discuss a whole bunch of ways, like, oh yeah, we can shoot our way out. No, we'll be caught in the cross, blah, blah, blah. There's no way we're getting out of this alive kind of thing. And IG-11 comes up, I cannot be caught by enemy hands. I must self-destruct. And they have the conversation about, no, you can't. Your prime directive's to protect the baby, isn't it?
This was a very interesting scene to me because at this point now, IG has pretty much saved Din's life, and Din is like pleading with IG not to destroy himself.
Yeah, they go so far as IG says to him, there's nothing to be sad about. I was never live. And Din's like, I'm not sad. And IG-11's like, yes, you are. I've analyzed your voice and I'm programmed to be a nurse now. So we saw, a change in Din. He's able to recognize, somebody that helps him and proves to be a staunch ally. Right?
Well, it's not even the first time he's tried to talk him out of self-destruct, right?
Yeah, last time was to save his own life. He was standing right next to it.
Yeah, that was more self-preservation. This time you really feel like Din cares about him.
Yeah, but that's why it's cool in full circle, right?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, because he had no problem shooting at the head the first episode.
But IG goes forth, he self-destructs, takes them out, has a hero's death, and I'm a little disappointed his last words weren't, would you like some tea?
Yeah. You son of a bitch, I'm in.
So they come out, and Gideon shows up with his really cool TIE fighter, and they're not sure what to do. Grief says, do the magic hand thing, baby, and it waves at him.
Yeah.
It's like you can turn it on and off on command here.
Do the magic hand thing, and Baby Yoda just waves at him. It's
What's
like,
up?
I'm out of ideas.
We're fucked. Din straps on the jetpack, waits till the TIE goes over, straight in the air, and then he pulls a Merida and rolls a natural 20 on his grappling hook on the TIE.
And again, that grappling hook's amazing.
I mean, holy shit! He must have that. Or he must have a pretty high skill modifier for that thing.
Yeah, he must have skill focused that motherfucker.
But he hangs on, goes for a ride, misses the first explosive, is able to slap the second one on. Let's go, and kaboom!
I like how he just let go after planting those charges.
Yeah, like fuck it, they're on now. The TIE, the wing partially blows off, but goes spiraling off to crash on the plane without an explosion.
Gideon he seems like such a cool customer, but in that moment he was like, oh fuck.
Yeah, he was starting to lose his cool.
So the TIE crashes and Din jetpacks to the ground like, no big deal. Nothing to it.
So they're making the assumption here too that they've destroyed all Imperial presence on the planet because they start talking about future plans. Grief says, hey, yeah, your guild rates have just gone up.
Yeah, he's ready to get right back to business and offer Kara a job.
And she references her chain code again, but apparently you can alter chain codes. Grief says something along the lines of, that'll be the least of her worries.
It took me a lot longer than I'm willing to admit to notice her Rebel Alliance tattoo on her face.
Oh yeah, I never
the tiny little thing under her eye.
Yeah, I didn't notice that for quite some time.
What was it? Grief also made a mention of doing bounty hunter work. Din makes a reference to really bounty hunting, and Grief says some of my best friends are bounty. Mando and the child go back to the Razor Crest. He asks him to stay, of course, but he says no. I've got other things I'm going to have to deal with first. Obviously, referencing going to find the child's home. So. Season 2 plot, possibly.
His jetpacking away with the child, very much a repeat of when the Death Watch jetpacked away with him.
Right, yeah.
But yeah, next season is definitely going to be Mando 2, The Search for Yoda.
I don't think it's just going to be that because of what happens next.
Right, so before he leaves, he gives Queel a burial, and he sits down in the cockpit of the Razor Crest, and his armor is really fucking scarred up. So I'm thinking, I would not be the slightest bit surprised if season 2 we see a new paint scheme on that armor.
Although the shiny Beskar is really cool.
You know, if they repaint it though, they can sell more Funko Pops.
More toys too. Before Beskar, after Beskar, during Beskar.
Exactly. So he says to the kid, "What do you got there?" And Baby Yoda's wearing the Mythosaur medallion. He's just like, "Yeah, why don't you hang on to that?" And what's the first thing you always say, Merida, when he's got something like that?
It was a choking hazard. He was chewing on it.
There it is. Listen, if anyone's getting choked out, it's not Yoda. He's doing the choking out. But we get one last big surprise in this episode.
We see Jawas scavenging the Outland TIE Fighter.
And then suddenly you see something black pop out of the TIE Fighter, make a nice little hole, and out pops our Moff with the fucking Darksaber.
The Darksaber!
So this was a very, very big moment to all us Clone Wars and Rebels geeks.
Where is Bo-Katan and why does she not have it?
Very good question.
Which I think is going to be another focal point of season 2. And based on, like I said this earlier to Carmine, Katie Sackhoff's tweet, she said, today was the coolest day ever. I can't tell you about it right now. And she is the voice actor of Bo-Katan. And I think we're going to see the real version next season.
She would be awesome in part 2. Like, physically, like, I can see it.
I mean, even if this is the way, keep the helmet on, it would still work. But even if they take it off her, I mean, some red hair, she's still perfect for it.
But interesting with the Darksaber, we flash back to when they were talking with the armor, and she mentioned the war with the Jedi. Vizsla was the last name. Was it Terra or something like that? Terra Vizsla is the first Mandalorian or the only Mandalorian to ever have joined the Jedi Order, thereby ending the war with the Mandalorians and the Jedi at the time, ending the war. So it's actually a Mandalorian lightsaber.
I feel like of the many things that are likely to happen in season 2, I feel like a rise of the Mandalorian kind of thing is going to start.
Well, there are a lot of different plot points that they can go on now for season 2. I mean, you got the search for Yoda's home. You've got him running from the Moff. You've got the whole Darksaber Mando possible Bo-Katan thing, monster of the week. I mean,
yeah,
possibilities are endless.
So Bo-Katan was the last person we knew had the Darksabers because Sabine Wren gave it to her. Sabine got it from Dathomir, where Maul had it. Maul took it off of Pre Vizsla. And Pre Vizsla is, of course, Death Watch. So that ties all the way back to who rescued Din Djarin at the beginning of the episode, the Death Watch.
It's all connected.
And because of Maul's part in that, then that kind of explains the armorer's helmet being very much, I can't remember the name of the race, Zabaran, is that what you called it?
Zabrak or Iridonian, same thing.
Yeah, because her helmet very much has those horns, so she may have, with the Death Watch tie, and the Death Watch being the sect Maul originally worked with prior to taking over all of Mandalore. There's just so many possibilities and tie-ins there, right?
And I'm trying to decide with that whether she could be Zabrak and then have the helmet, or it could be in some sort of homage to Darth Maul. Because, I mean, really, if you think about it, if you had little nubs on your head, trying to put them in that spot on a helmet every time you put it on would be weird.
True enough. So it's probably more an homage to their leader at the time being Maul.
Oh, I remember. We never really got an answer on who the guy with the spurs was that found the assassin on Tatooine. I am still holding out hope we will see Cad Bane in the mix.
Yeah, that never played out at all. We never figured out what happened to them.
No, it's one thing we did not get. We got a lot of resolution on a lot of things, but not that. It's one hanging out there. I feel like that was a setup for next season. So that's it. First season down. I don't know about you guys, but I think it's the best fucking Star Wars we've ever gotten.
Oh yeah, really enjoyed it.
Oh, so want more.
I might still like Rebels a little bit more.
I tend to separate my my cartoon and my live action when I'm thinking best of. It's between Rebel and Clone Wars for me for best of cartoon, but right now for live action, this is like pretty much up there with like episode 4.
I have determined that I just like Dave Filoni's Star Wars best.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Now I think if I were to combine looking at live action and animated, Rebels was really good. Clone Wars really good. Not detracting from them. I think I would prefer The Mandalorian, and I think it's mainly because it's, I want to say, easier to digest. But Rebels and Clone Wars, there's so much of it that you got to watch, and eventually there'll be so much The Mandalorian. Right now, it's 8 episodes that left you wanting more. Whereas with the other things, I look at them as like, oh yeah, it's a complete story, and I felt it was slow at times. Whereas this was like, yeah, you're jamming everything in as fast as you can go.
With just a few episodes like we had, the potency is still very high with Mandalorian.
And I think once I get, because for me, I like the backstory and I like all the history and stuff when it all starts to come together. So I think when I get more Mandalorian, that opinion might change too.
Okay, Mandalorian Season 1 is in the bag. Thanks everyone for joining us. You can follow us on social media at Clan Flynn, Facebook and Twitter. And you can support this Patreon at patreon.com/VinzerFlinn. And a big thank you to everyone that has supported us this year. You have made a difference. Okay, we are going to be back soon, and we are going to take on Episode 9, Rise of Skywalker. See y'all then.